Asanteni sana na asante sana wasichana kutoka Chepterit. Nafikiri tumejumuika vizuri. The Member of Assembly of Chesumei, MP Dr. Kogo, our hosts, Baraton University, the bishops and the clergy present here today, the professionals present here today, the county commissioner, mpenda Kiswahili yule, members of, and all the members from the Ministry of Interior, including everybody who is present, our DDC, members of education, my colleagues, and many of you present today, the unions and association, the leadership present here today, the principals, head teachers, examination teachers, board chairs present here today, the children, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Kwa wale kutoka Mombasa nafikiri wanasema shikamoo kwa wakubwa wangu na maharaba kwa wadogo wangu. Jamge.
Jamge.
It is really a warm pleasure for me to be here today. And there are many things that have really made me happy, and I thought I will start with them. First of all, as we were coming in, we were welcomed, and quite a number of the people here in the top dais were not here. So let me tell you what happened. Many of you are seated here, and thank you for that. We were welcomed by a band made of learners from the institutions of this constituency. I believe the band members are from Chepterit and Kapsabet Boys, isn't it? It was beautiful, very beautiful to see these band members. And all I can tell you is that what we saw over there is what we envision in the educational reforms we are seeing. That talents must be recognized as children are learning. And some of them perhaps will be musicians of repute. And it begins from small things such as this. It begins from giving them opportunities. So I'd like to thank you and to recognize the talent that we have seen, the conductors who are there. And then later on, we had young boys and girls giving verses. And what about the little ones with their skit? The message that they gave was really beautiful. So thank you for that warm welcome and a testament of the education focus we are putting in this county. I'd also like to start my opening remarks by thanking you, Dr. MP Bwana Kogo. When he invited me, I said yes, because any moment to come and talk education is something that I'm happy, so thank you for giving me this opportunity to come. But also when I asked him, can we also have a theme? And the theme to be to also use the opportunity to talk about the education reforms. He was very happy, willing, and made space for that. And that is why when I talked with the colleagues in the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, an institution I chaired for about 5 years, they were able to come. They are this activity is being streamed live. I think some of you can get it, and it is also on the Edu channel. So what we are doing, even though it is very local, is also national and international. And it comes from this collaboration. So thank you for giving us that opportunity from the Ministry of Education head office to come here and also listen to you, learn from you, share what we have, listen to what we have. Because that is what true education can help us to achieve. As I stand here before you, I know that I am standing amongst leaders. The leaders are from the young ones we have seen. We are seeing leaders over here in the children that are there, leaders in the dais behind me, and also leaders in the dais in front of me. All of you are leaders in various categories. And a leader is a vision holder. And so I am going to make the few remarks I will be making to co-leaders, to vision holders, who together we have been put at this opportune moment to lead this country from where we are to the future, because that is what we want to bequeath our children. And so my conversation with you this afternoon will just be in two phases. First of all, because I am a teacher, my speech is already with you. And I'm going to ask you to bring this from your books. I hope everybody has it. Do you all have this? This is my speech. And then the second one will be a recognition of what you have done as leaders, because this is what we have come here to do. But you know, a leader takes a moment to celebrate, but also takes a moment to think about what they need to continue doing, because the work always remains. If you have done something well, you can always do it something better. And that is why it's a good opportunity to think about where do we want to be as the educational reforms are happening in the country. Where do we want Chesumei to be? Do you want to be players only over here? Or do you want to be players nationally, players internationally? I believe by putting the standards here in this constituency, the standards that we are going to put are so good that they will allow our children not only to get a job anywhere in the country, but to also spread their wings to the region, but to also look beyond. We do not want to have a situation where children in America, in Britain, are being brought up and being told you can go and work in Africa, you can go and work in Kenya. But us, we are only bringing up our children to work in Kenya. It is important for them to work in Kenya, for them to work at home. But equally, we must equip our children with the skills and the aptitude that will allow them to conquer the world. And we can. After all, are we not the country and indeed the constituency that has given, bequeathed to the world champions worthy of name? Do we know any champion from here whom we will say was not only good for our village, was not only good for Kenya, but is beating the world? Do we know any champion from here?
Yes.
Which one can you name for me?
Eliud.
Now, Eliud Kipchoge is from here, isn't it? Kapsisiwo hapa. Can we have many more Eliud Kipchoges conquering the world in the various aspects of the professions? I honestly believe that we can. And that is why I want, as a teacher, to refer to this learning aid. Kila mtu ako nayo, nilikuwa nawapea nafasi mtafute. So kila mtu ako nayo, eh? We are today in a major educational reform in Kenya. It is actually the third major educational change since we got independence in Kenya. And I think we are very fortunate that we can offer the leadership today. Now, this education that we are talking about, there's been a lot that has been stated about what is wrong with it. But let us not confuse the vision with implementation hitches. The vision of the education reforms we are in is very clear. And you can see I'm talking about education reforms, because many of us know about CBC. And what does CBC stand for? Competency-based curriculum. Alafu kuna CBA. What is CBA? Sio ile ya nat. CBA is what? Competency-based assessment. Muliona wale watoto wadogo wakisema, mzazi akiuliza, sasa hii EE na ME ni nini? Si ndio? That is a major movement in competency-based assessment. That we are moving from ticking and giving a mark to saying, mtoto amefikisha kiwango, ama amezidi, ama hajafikisha. Because a child can be very good in math, therefore is exceeding expectations, but perhaps has got problems in Kiswahili. Therefore, you know as a teacher, this child can offer peer learning to the others in math, but in Kiswahili can be supported, isn't it? That is why we have brought up also one of the key reforms that is going on is the competency-based assessment. So nimewaambia CBC, CBA, A. Then there is another one, and that is to do with competency-based teacher education. Another major reform happening, and I will share a little bit about it. But as we are speaking now, we actually have started new diploma courses and a new upgrade, so that we are also building on the teacher for today and for tomorrow. And then we have competency-based education and training. What our county commissioner was saying, tusaidiane, that children can also go to technical. How many reforms have I mentioned to you? Those are 4. There are others to do with the higher education's qualifications framework. So there are many reforms that are happening, and all of them are speaking to one thing, that we want to ensure that children have many alternatives that agree with their talent, agree with their potential, so that they can grow to be what they want in life. That is the reason why we have all these reforms. These reforms are also there because of the vision we have. The vision in the reforms we are doing is to have a what? There are 3 C's. Who knows them? What is the vision of the curriculum reforms? And it is in 3 E's. We want a engaged, empowered, and ethical citizen. Si mtakumbuka hizo 3? Engaged, empowered, and ethical. Sawa sawa. That is the vision. Nitauliza Bwana CC akuja hapa tuambie katika Kiswahili mtu atatamka hiyo vitu vitatu aje. Alafu nilisikia board chair pia akiongea kalenji nyingine sanifu. Sasa CC tafadhali njoo hapa. Board chair tafadhali njoo hapa. Muniambie kwa sababu nataka tukitoka hapa tunazikumbuka hizo maneno katika lugha zetu zote. Sivyo? Nimewaambia katika Kiingereza. The vision is we want an engaged, empowered, and ethical citizen. Hebu munitu repeat sisi wote? Engaged, empowered, and ethical citizen. Haya, katika lugha la taifa tutasemaje?
Nadhani kwa engage ni kuhusika, kuhusishwa, kujumuishwa. No. Empowered ni kupewa uwezeshwa ama kuwezeshwa. And ethical ni maadili.
Haya. Sasa tumempea homework aende atafute zile maneno mzuri alafu kesho atazitumia katika baraza, sivyo? Engaged, empowered and ethical. Hiyo ndio tunataka. Haya basi, katika lugha la mama.
Engaged. Kogeai engeut. Keting. Kenet. The other one is empowered. Kigoj kamuget. Kigimit. And the last one, ethical. Netinye talbista agandit.
Rawagasi? Mzuri. So that is the vision. Mutasahau kweli. And the mission is nurturing every learner's potential. Watoto, hebu mrudie baada ya mimi. Nurturing every learner's potential. That is what we want to see in them. That a child has got potential in everything. And our role as the adults is to nurture that potential they have, the inherent talents they have, so that they can be what they want to be. Not what you as a parent want to be. Sometimes what you want for your child is not what they want. So it's important to listen to them. And so, why did we then change? We changed from the old system because it was no longer serving our purposes well in 3 areas. First and foremost, there was a big gap, a big disconnect between what we call skills for life and skills for work. Skills for life and skills for work. Many employers were complaining that even if they get graduates, they are not employable. So that was the first disconnect that we had to address. The second disconnect is that while the national goals of education are very clear in the Constitution, in fact, even in the educational goals, we still find children, adults who do not have values, who do not have respect. And so there was something that we were failing there. When corruption indexes are done, we rank there in corruption. And yet the intention of education has been to promote an upstanding citizen. The other disconnect was to do with technology. We have a technology bust, an information bust. The life of yesterday is changing. In March 2020, how many of you had heard of the word Zoom? March 2020, how many? What about this year? How many of you have heard and used Zoom? Raise your hands. Almost everybody. That is just an example of the way technology is changing and why we have to be ready to join it, not to fight it, because it is a way of tomorrow. So those are the three problems we can say we had. So when we looked at them, and here we were given the responsibility of thinking about the new education we want for this country. We said that in the new system, we want to focus on competencies. That means a child must be able to do something. When I was coming in, I saw children who can play the band. There were children who can speak with such eloquence. Master Olo, do you remember him? What was he doing? Dancing. Children who can do something, that is competence. The second thing that we are focusing in our education is that we also want a child with character, a good child. We do not want only a child who can do, a useful child, but also a good child. Because with competence without character will come to naught. Can you imagine having an employee who is competent but is a thief? Your business will never grow. So character and competence go together. It is not either and or. And we know that we were floundering. And that is why in the new curriculum, there is a stress on parental empowerment and engagement. Mwalimu hapa alisema together with Simunijibu, together with your guardian, you go and make a necklace. That is an example of parental empowerment and engagement, using materials that you can buy or you create yourself. The importance of being with your child, finding time with your child. Parents, you must take back that responsibility of being the first guardian, the first educator for your child. And so that is a key pillar. I have been told that we have guidelines developed from KICD. I do not know how many of you have it. But when I was told that board chairs are here, I really wanted you to have these guidelines on parental empowerment and engagement, because it is important to have conversations on what we need to do as parents to support our children in the education. And every parent, whether you are literate or illiterate, every parent has something they can do. So let us not use this excuse of, oh, I cannot read, oh, I do not know how to use computer. Those are excuses. Because every person has got something. What you can do is even just listen to your child. That is developing a skill in your child. Because for me, as a language teacher, I will tell you that listening attentively has to be learnt. It has to be learnt. Listening, you can listen, but listening attentively, it has to be learnt. It's a skill. You do not need to be educated, schooled to be able to listen attentively, but you need to have interest in your child to be able to listen attentively. And so when we are talking about character, the parent is there. The other pillar that we have in the CBC is what we are calling value-based education. And when I was recognizing the clergy and bishops It is because of the critical role you have to play, must continue to play in CBC. Because values, as my colleagues in KICD say, values are not taught, they are caught. Repeat after me. Values they are not taught, they are caught, isn't it? Can you teach respect when you yourself you're disrespectful? No. So the best way to teach respect is to show respect. Values are in the way we do things, the way we talk to the learner. And so it is important that it is everywhere, whether in the church, whether at home, so that in school we are reinforcing it. So that is another critical pillar when we are talking about character in CBC. The first one I said is parental empowerment and engagement. The second pillar is value-based education. And the final pillar is community service learning. That is important. No child, hawa watoto wa grade 5, mulikuwa mnawachekea wengine wenu walipoenda sokoni na walikuwa wanasafisha soko. Do you know that was a very critical part of the project they were doing on community service learning? Because we must educate ourselves to also benefit the community. And these children are beginning to teach us. So why do we push them away? Are these children not ahead of us? They're ahead, so we need to embrace them. So those are the three pillars. What have I said? The first pillar is parental empowerment and engagement. The second pillar is value-based education. The third pillar is community service learning. All of these, you can see, are processes in which we want to build character. The first thing CBC wants is competence. A child who can do something. The second one is character. A good child. And then the final one is creativity. The world is changing so much. And all of us are inherently creative. If we were not creative, you would not have learned to use M-Pesa. Because nobody taught you. Did anyone teach you how to use M-Pesa? But you learned, isn't it? So there's a difference between being taught and learning. And the fact that we can learn things is because of our creativity. That is an important pillar also in CBC. So I'm going to call again my two co-teachers because collaborative teaching is very important in CBC. So my two, Kiswahili and Kalenjin. And the task they have is to tell us what competence, character, and creativity are in the languages. And these languages are in the Constitution. Kiswahili is our main language in the Constitution because it is our national language and official language. Indigenous languages have a place in the Constitution. So you can see I am constitutionally correct now because we are now presenting in 3 languages. Sasa, naomba, tutasema competencies ni nini katika lugha la taifa, character na creativity. Tafadhali mwalimu wetu wa leo.
Mengine baada mpaka tufanye utafiti, lakini creativity najua ni ubunifu. Competence ni uwezo. Character, haya twende sote. Tabia, maadili kidogo, tabia ingine, maadili tabia ni sawa tu, lakini maadili kidogo inaafiki zaidi. Utu, yes, pia inaingiana hapo. Wacha tutafute lile la kweli kabisa, tufanye utafiti.
Asante. So kwa hivyo katika kwa sababu ya somo la leo tutasema kwamba huu mfano mpya inataka mtoto mwenye ako na uwezo, ako na utu na ako na ubunifu. Sawa sawa? Watoto wangu mmeshika hiyo? Tumesema ni nini? Uwezo, utu na ubunifu. Watoto mmeshika hiyo? Haya, wafunzeni wazazi wenu. Asante sana. Sasa katika lugha la mama, hizo maneno 3.
Competence, kamuget, nebagabwate nemi barak. Character, kondit ak chitondit. creativity, musognatet. Musognatet. Anango utotiet. Anango kitongin anan.
Haya basi, mwalimu wangu wa indigenous amefanyaje? Amejaribu lakini sinamaanisha hata nyinyi mko na kazi. Kwa hivyo kesho nikirudi nitaomba mbunge ani-invite tena, mtakuja tujadiliane katika lugha la mama. Kwa sababu ndipo tukiwa sokoni tunasema ni nini tunataka katika mfumo wetu wa elimu. Sawa sawa. So those are the three things, and that is your page 1. Then it is also important, let us go to page 2, to know what these competencies are. These competencies, we have put them in a very easy way for you to remember them. They are the 4 C's and then 5, 6, and 7. And have we seen them? Like for example, when you're talking about communication and collaboration, working together to realize a goal. Because I'm not very strong in the languages, I invited our county commissioner and our chair to come and help me move a message. And this is what you also need to do in schools if you're not doing it. I know for sure that today, if you go to any of our public teacher training institutions, the one thing they will tell you is that they have communities of practice. And these communities of practice, one college takes leadership. So Igoji TTC has taken the leadership in indigenous language. And I'm responding to a question that was asked here about where are we placing indigenous language. It is being taught in our TTCs now. Because at the moment, we do not have a teacher who can teach Kalenjin. But after 3 years, we will have. So we might be late, but we are doing something. So Igoji has taken the leadership in indigenous teachers, indigenous languages. And after that, they bring together all the tutors from Osoriot, Kwale, everybody, to think about create together. Because we want the competencies that we are naming over here to also be practiced. So these are the 4 competencies. The 4 C's and then 5, 6, and 7. When Director Kimotho was presenting to you, which competence did he use? Do you remember? When he asked you to remove your phones, which competence were we using? Digital literacy. So we have to practice these competencies every day. And that is why he asked parents, don't always tell the children they cannot access the phone. Guide them on how they can use the phone. Because digital literacy is a literacy that if you do not have it today, you will be very disadvantaged in future. So let us not disadvantage our children. We have to allow them. So look at it. Everybody has this thing, isn't it? Everybody has this brochure. So look at them and remember them. There are 4 C's and then 5, 6, and 7. A good one for all of us. And that is why I'm glad that this is an education clinic. It's a day. Is competence number 5, learning to learn. Everybody can learn. And have the attitude that you can learn. Because if you do that, nothing will be difficult. You'll always be learning. Lifelong education is what we want. Let us now move to the next slide, page of the poster. And this is on the learning journey. You will see that in CBC, we do not say that it is a system of 3, 4, 2, whatever it is. No. Because that does not tell us much. We want the vision to be very clear. And so in CBC, we have early years education. And early years education comprises pre-primary, the young children you saw over here, and then grades 1, 2, and 3. And the intention in early primary is that the children must have the basic skills. So as educators, ensure that any child, by the end of grade 3, should be able to read, should be literate, should be numerate, should have life skills. What are these life skills? Like confidence, being able to talk in front of others, doing things for yourself, cleaning up after yourself. These are competencies that go with the milestones, developmental milestones of the child. Then thereafter, we move on to middle school.